Welcome to the Duluth, Mesabi, and Iron Range HO scale model railroad layout. The layout is a 1990s era pseudo-prototypical design featuring DM&IR locomotives in a taconite ore operation between Eveleth and Two Harbors. This layout was built by Harold and Carl Samuelson over a period of 5.5 years, with initial bench work commencing in January of 2014 and final details being applied to the layout in June of 2019. This is the first video of 9 and is a flyover following in reverse the path a DM&IR locomotive and its 140 cars of taconite pellets would take from the mines in Eveleth to the ore dock in Two Harbors. Lake Superior. The Lake Superior scene is the focal point of the layout and is the first thing you see as you approach it. It is comprised of two rather large scale models, the first being a Walters ore dock measuring roughly 48 inches in length, and the other being a Sylvan scale model's Great Lakes ore freighter measuring roughly 46 inches in length. At that scale, the Great Lakes ore freighter is roughly 380 scale feet in length. This scene depicts the loading of the freighter by the taconite ore cars as they deposit the load down the chutes and into the storage areas of the freighter itself. Other details have been added to the Lake Superior scene to provide some interest, and the water is Woodland Scenic's realistic water. Two Harbors. This scene represents the town of Two Harbors in Minnesota. It is one possible endpoint for a taconite ore train to bring its taconite pellets to a Great Lakes ore freighter loading facility. In creating the town, a number of elements were put together, including a park with a waterfall into the lake. That presented a significant design challenge in terms of coming up with a graceful way to go from 8 to 10 inches above the lake down to the lake itself. Throughout the park, there is an asphalt running path. There are benches, parking lot up top, and in the background you can see a parked DM&IR ore train, as well as an engine repair facility. Small details, such as street signs and the park sign, were added. The locomotive repair facility is indicative of the kind of building that would be used to do minor repairs on the locomotives in service. Along the back wall, the mural depicts some typical industrial buildings that you would find in a town like this. As the camera pans around, you can see back toward the Lake Superior side of the town. Chisholm and the Railyard. As the camera pans left away from Two Harbors, the Railyard and the town of Chisholm, and in the distance, rural Minnesota, come into view. There are 11 separate tracks in the Railyard, consisting of 4 main lines that circle the entire layout, and a number of sidings and places for cars to reside. The town of Chisholm has several distinct aspects to it as well. On the right, there is a warehouse and an office building. The office building has been super detailed inside to include people, furniture, and lighting. As you pan into the town of Chisholm, there is a modern gas station and some shopping. There is a water tower in the distance that has Chisholm on it. Panning left, you can see the width of the rail yard and how all of the track connects to one another. As different areas of the rail yard give way to different parts of the scene, there is a change in the color of the ballast to represent that. In the foreground of the town of Chisholm is an Amtrak station. The Amtrak train itself has two possible courses. It can ride in an oval around the town of Chisholm, or it can crisscross through town in the X you see in the middle. Panning back to the right, you see the rail yard heading toward the east. Panning back left over the town of Chisholm, we complete that scene with a modern day Culver's and a cabin in the woods on the left. Taconite Mine. As the camera finishes its flyover of the layout, the last scene is a taconite ore facility reminiscent of the kinds of mines that exist on the Iron Range in Minnesota. This particular taconite mine evokes United Taconite in Eveleth. The vehicles used in the mining operation are depicted on the layout, as well as the structures used to load the taconite once processed into the ore cars for delivery to Two Harbors and the Great Lakes Ore Freighter. Locomotive height view. This segment of the flyover video is from a much lower vantage point. The camera pans from the park in Two Harbors across the entire layout at a height not much higher than that of a locomotive itself. The intent of this flyover is to give the viewer a completely different perspective on the details and intricacies of the layout. Details such as elevation changes of the track and the massiveness of the rail yard itself are more easily discerned in a view like this. There is also a better perspective in terms of the depth of the layout, as Chisholm in the background and the rural Minnesota scene even further in the background are much further away from the camera. The camera completes its tour of the rail yard and continues to pan left toward the Taconite Mine. A great deal of landscaping went into the layout in an attempt to make the scenes more realistic. Bird's eye panorama. The very last part of the flyover is a bird's eye view of the entire layout, panning slowly from the Taconite Mine on the left, across the rail yard, the town of Chisholm, rural Minnesota in the background, around to the pond separating Chisholm from the Two Harbors scene, and lastly Two Harbors. In all, there are more than 300 linear feet of track, 40 electrically controlled switches, more than 60 ore cars, half with taconite loads, a backdrop comprised of 8 6-foot-long sections providing a seamless transition, and more than 14 scale models. Thank you for watching.